everybody, welcome back. I'm Scott. It's Antiwar Radio. Talking with my buddy Anthony Gregory about red-state fascism in the age of Obama. Wouldn't it be nice if the opposition party out of power at any given time really meant what they said about even just the Bill of Rights? Forget the rest of the Constitution. It hadn't been such a thing since at least TR. So, but the Bill of Rights, man, fair trials and protection from torture and, the right to speak freely and assemble peacefully and these kinds of protections, man, we're going to go ahead and get rid of that too. We can't even get the party out of power to have their head together about the Bill of Rights, Anthony, it seems like to me.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, you of course, you're mentioning the protections in the Bill of Rights that conservatives tend to be weaker on anyway, just ideologically. But I think one problem...
Yeah, they want to go on and on and on about how they're coming for the guns when they're not coming for the guns. They know that there's already 500 million guns in this society and that they can't take them. Hell, just the act of registering them means that just a stack of hard drives of the registration they take one look at that and they know they can't take our guns. Give me a break, dude. It's the rest of them that are under the most threat right now, the other 9.
Yeah, but I will credit the conservatives. I mean, if it weren't for them, maybe they would try to take the guns. So the reason, it's kind of like why is it that they don't try to take the guns?
Well, I'm from Austin, and in Austin, even the hippies have giant rifles that you've never seen before, man.
Yeah, but Austin is an anomaly within the country, I mean.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. There are hundreds of millions of privately owned firearms, though. Let that be stated.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that it's a good thing that Americans are jealous about I wish Americans were as paranoid about their First Amendment rights and their Fourth Amendment rights as conservatives are paranoid about their Second Amendment rights. That's all.
There you go.
And because some people say we're paranoid. They say, oh, they're not going to come round up the Muslims. They're not going to, they're not going to. But it's hard to know what's paranoia anymore, because if we had talked about how we'd have secret trials, presidential rights to assassinate anyone, torture, warrantless wiretapping, just done willy-nilly, essentially by the military wing of the state. If we said all that 10 years ago, people would say that we were crazy, right? But now, not only was this law everything the Bush administration did, but now the Obama administration's doing all of it, and so now it's just the bipartisan nature of America that where these police state practices are just normal. And this is one problem with having the left in power. Civil liberties takes a major hit, because when the people out of power are the conservatives, they're only so good at resisting civil liberties encroachments. I think the left is more adamant about it when they're out of power, and so it's just it's messed up, because the people who would be talking more about torture and indefinite detention, a lot of them have stopped talking about it. Of course, all of the great writers that you and I both like, they still talk about it. The ACLU still talks about it. Glenn Greenwald still talks about it. But the progressives, they've kind of sold out, at least somewhat, because they want to defend their president. They like the president's domestic policy. They like the stimulus. They like the health care. And so they're a little bit cautious about pointing out that Obama is an imperialist war criminal just like Bush. And then now we have the right, which doesn't think Obama's an imperialist war criminal. They think he's not imperialist enough. And so this is just, it's a terrible dynamic in which to find ourselves as it concerns civil liberties in particular.
Well, I guess there's also the thing, too, where as the parties in power switch and the lingo switches from, the jargon of state justification to, well, maybe not so much or whatever. I mean, you're right that obviously the vast majority of right-wing criticisms of Obama are completely wrong-headed and off base, as bad as he is. But at the same time, being libertarians and being above and outside this ridiculous left-right spectrum, we get to collect those who wash out when the switch happens too, right? So I get emails that say, yeah, man, I guess I was a lefty for a long time, and then it seems to me like the Ron Paul libertarian types are the only ones who really hate war, and really, it's not about which politician they favor. They really hate war. So that's where I am, man. I'm with you guys now. And, same thing hopefully on the right. More and more of these guys are going to realize that, the real, the intellectual heritage of people who hate the state are classical liberals, not conservatives, and that if they really hate the state, then they gotta admit that it's time to change their mind about some things if they want a little consistency in their life and whatever. So, it's every crisis is an opportunity, like Condoleezza Rice and Rahm Emanuel said, right?
Well, sure, and I think you touch on an important point there that although there are many leftists and even some conservatives who are just kind of unusual conservatives who do hate war, I think that we hate war the most. I mean, I don't want to get into some sort of childish contest about this, but I've heard liberals accuse libertarians of not really caring about the war except maybe because it costs money. And maybe this is true of some people who call themselves libertarians, but I mean, we've talked about this at length, Scott. War is the total negation of everything we stand for. It always is the total negation of it. There's nothing about war we like. Yes, the taxes alone make war pure evil. But then infinitely worse than that, war is the mass murder of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of innocent people. And there's nothing that's conceivably worse to the libertarian mind. I mean, it's like the entire destruction of every principle we hold dear all at once in a concentrated and yet, very huge manifestation. I mean, it's just what's worse than war? And so we hate war so much that it is particularly frustrating for us to see, conservatives kind of give half a critique of nation building because they don't think we should spend all this money on this war, or left liberals who throughout the Bush years, even most left liberals, they said, oh, we shouldn't be in Iraq. We neglect Afghanistan. Afghanistan was the real war. Well, look at what's going on. Iraq, certainly the war hasn't ended there, but it looks like the future of U.S. Foreign policy is more in Afghanistan. That's where the bloodshed's going to be. That's where the resources are directed and destroyed. And this is the liberal war. This is the war. Now, of course, today, many left liberals are still better on this war than the conservatives are, and that's one reason I'm so hard on the conservatives is because even when they're out of power, they're worse on war. But if you really hate war this much, how could you, even if you're for national health care, how could you support the guy implementing it when he's blood of thousands of innocent people on his hands? I mean, I'm
sorry we have to leave it there, Anthony, but we're all out of time, dude. We got to go on to the next interview. But I really appreciate your time on the show today. I hope people will read The Persistence of Red-State Fascism. You had one about blue state fascism as well, and they're all there, and they're all about fascism. And they're at LewRockwell.com/Gregory.